Hello and welcome to this special edition of Crux of the Matter. Friends, you know that the NDA has registered a resounding victory in the Bihar Assembly elections. But even as the results were coming in, Prime Minister Narendra Modi raised the pitch for and set the eyes on Bengal next. Addressing party workers at the BJP headquarters in the capital on the day the NDA swept Bihar, amassing a two-third majority almost. Prime Minister Modi said, after next uproot the quote jungle Raj unquote in Bengal. Let me, viewers, encapsulate what he said. He said, and I quote him, the river Ganga flows to Bengal via Bihar. And the victory in Bihar, like the river, has paved the way for our victory in Bengal, unquote. Now, friends, within moments of the Prime Minister making this proclamation, the TMC was and hit back at the Prime Minister, suggesting that he was playing to galleries and was a victim of a grand delusion. This is what the TMC said. Quote, I'd like to offer Mr. Narendra Modi a few reality checks. He spoke as though Bengal is something to be conquered, a piece of land to be added to his CV. Bengal will reject politics practiced by Modi and we have a CM like Mamata Banerjee, unquote. This was Sagarika Ghosh, TMC MP. Now, viewers, can the BJP, and remember, it has tried at least 5 times since 2015. Can it breach the Bengal barrier, so to speak? Can Prime Minister Modi unseat Mamata Banerjee as that chief minister that she has been in power now for more than a decade, viewers? It was 3 terms. Can that happen? Well, the BJP has an uphill challenge. Let me just break it down numerically for you. Between 2019 and 2024, the TMC gained 28 assembly segments in Lok Sabha polls in Bengal. So, between the 2019 and the 2024 Lok Sabha election, if you were to extrapolate that result across a map of the assembly constituencies, the TMC in fact gained cumulatively 17% more seats. So it consolidated its position. TMC won 6 out of 6 assembly by-poll seats amidst RG core protests in November 2024. So it appears that as late as November 2024, so a year ago, not much anti-incumbency had set in. TMC enjoys almost 10% vote share gap over the BJP if you look back at the 2021 assembly polls, viewers. And that's a huge vote share to transcend. The TMC pocketed 217 seats compared to the BJP 77 in the 2021 assembly polls on the back of that 10% gap, almost 10% gap in vote share. Now, viewers, the other problem for the BJP is that most of these constituencies return results with a fair margin. So there's a lot of making up to do of ground, viewers. Only 40 seats out of a total of 294 seats in Bengal were won, for example, or lost by less than 5% margin in 2021. So basically, if the BJP has to win, it has to win handsomely across a majority of seats. Can it do so? That's the fundamental question. It's one of those states where the BJP has grown. It has grown to become very creditably for it the second largest party, but hasn't been able to acquire the momentum to displace the TMC, despite the fact that, viewers, just like in Bihar, all the development indices are not the greatest. So there has to be reason for anti-incumbency in Bengal, but it doesn't fructify in any way or sort of make itself felt during elections, either during Lok Sabha or during Assembly. Of course, during a Lok Sabha, the BJP has more of a momentum going into the election because it's a national election, national issues, national picture, so voters tend to sort of look at it a bit differently. But in the state assembly elections, it's a completely different story. It's a one-sided story, to be honest. So let's open this up. Let's ask some fundamental questions. We have Amitabh Tiwari, the founder of Vote Vibe, with us. We have Subhrashtra, author and political analyst. We have Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist. Subir Bhaumik, who is, of course, a senior journalist from Bengal, knows Bengal like the back of his hand, has worked for some of the nation's top media houses, including the BBC, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Bhaumik. So wonderful to have you. Let me begin with you, Mr. Bhaumik. How do you see the BJP's chances? Do you think that Mamata Banerjee has a massive edge? I'm not even saying a small edge or a chance, but a massive edge as we go into what now is appearing like the warm-up to an assembly election that will happen somewhere in May?
Well, Rahul, the BJP has a lot of ground to cover, to be very honest. And among the many problems that the BJP faces is they really don't have a face here, you know, to be projected as a future leader of Bengal, a future chief minister. You know, they made it very clear in Bihar that Nitish Kumar will be the chief minister. They made it very, very clear when they went into the polls. It's a different story that they got more seats than the JDU, but they had a phase two project there, and you know, it was a strong phase. Nitish Babu has been chief minister. In fact, they went to the polls with Nitish Babu in power. The problem in Bengal is Mamata Banerjee is in power. She runs the state administration, and that's something very important here. You know, the machinery, the state machinery is with her. Okay, election commission, but who are these BLOs, let's say? So they are, you know, she has control over the state administration. The BJP, you know, does not have a heavyweight leader in Bengal who is an automatic choice to be projected as a counter to Mamata Banerjee. And this is something that is very important. I mean, the leaders they have, Shubhendu Adhikari, you know, without really, you know, taking them one by one, I don't think at the moment, and, you know, they have a leader who can be projected as an automatic choice as someone who can replace Mamata Banerjee. And to be honest, they have problems within themselves. I don't want to elaborate that, but people in Bengal are aware that there are leaders like Dilip Ghosh, Shubhendu Adhikari, Shramik Bhattacharjee, they're all there. They have Shukanto Majumdar, who is a union minister. But, you know, it's not a very solid, you know, coordinated effort that we have seen so far, these leaders putting together. You know, they have their own factions, they have their own followers, and that's a major problem. So leadership and organization, these are two very important factors in Bengal. You know, as they say in Bengal, machine kar hate ache, who runs the party, you know, the machinery. Obviously, the state machinery is with Mamata Banerjee. Mamata Banerjee does not quite have the, you know, organized cadre that the CPIM used to have, but she has, you know, a reasonable set of party workers who are loyal to the party, who have their own set of controversies, but at the end of the day, they are on ground. They know the language, they know the people, they exactly know which area belongs to whom, so they know where to put in the effort. And of course, in Bengal, the RSS organization, which is the strength of BJP in many, many states, it has grown, but not at the kind of rate that the RSS leaders themselves or the BJP leaders themselves would fancy. So that's a problem. Having said that, I will also draw your attention to the present special intensive revision. Now, whereas there is a feeling among a lot of people that this needs to be done, people who are not citizens, you know, who have infiltrated into or illegally migrated into Bengal from Bangladesh, you know, should be delineated, they should be, you know, sent off, they should be taken off the electorals. A lot of people are also not happy at the way this whole exercise is being conducted. A lot of people think that this is unnecessary harassment. I'll give you one small example, and I'm facing this myself. I'm not a man from West Bengal. My origin is in Tripura. And I moved here when I came to work for the BBC. So my name is not there in the 2002 intensive revision, which is the base year. Now, there are documents that I have to produce to be a voter in Bengal. I have the Election Commission card, the EPIC card, which I made somewhat later. But if I had the opportunity to submit a Xerox copy of my passport with the SIR form, that would have sorted the issue out. No, there is no scope for that. So I'm quite sure, because the BLO who took my form told me that you rest assured that you will have to come for the hearing, which is a hassle. Come for the hearing, stand in queues. So, there are people who think that this is important. The BJP has strongly pitched for an SIR, but that precisely also may backfire, because a lot of people think this is unnecessary harassment for genuine Indian nationals who are voters. But it's also true that there are also a lot of people in the electoral rolls who are not really Indian nationals, especially in the border districts. So, it all depends on how this whole thing plays out. Because if you look at, Rahul, the way Trinamool is trying to push up this ante, up its ante on the SIR issue, some BLOs have committed suicide, some people have committed suicide, and Mamata Banerjee has written to the election commissioner, chief election commissioner, that the human cost of this whole exercise is so much that this exercise should be immediately postponed. So they are trying to raise this issue as an effort by the election commission on behalf, it's their allegation, on behalf of the central government to harass people here, whereas the BJP wants this. So, it depends on how this plays out. So there are many ifs and buts. It's not going to be, something that we can say right now that BJP will do well, they will do very well, or the Trinamool will do very well, and the BJP, for all the noise it will make, will not get very far. It's too early to say that, but it's a long road that they have to tread before they can come close to unseating the Trinamool. That much I can tell you. The challenge is formidable for the BJP, regardless of all the plus points that they have.
What is interesting, of course, Subhrashta, let me bring you in, just from a topical political perspective. When the Prime Minister is on the ticket during the Lok Sabha elections, that gap between the BJP and the TMC narrows quite noticeably. So, in case the BJP doesn't project a leader, does it actually perhaps even work in their favor? I know that obviously the Prime Minister can't become the Chief Minister, but if they make it a more presidential sort of election, pitting the Prime Minister and his record against Mamata Banerjee and her record, do you think things could change? And some of the points that Mr. Bhaumik has raised, how do you appraise them?
So, Rahul, there are a few things that I want to bring to the table when it comes to Bengal. Number one, in case of Bengal, all years of left and TMC's rule has ensured that the party is looked at as the state and the state is looked at as the party. So today, when you talk about Bengal and TMC, it is as if the sub-national and sub-regional voices of Bengal is sort of challenging the cultural dominance of the BJP, a Hindutva nationalist that the BJP is trying to project. Now, when I say this, I essentially mean that Mamata Banerjee's personality is in direct clash with either a Prime Minister Modi's personality or BJP RSS combined, which is where the problem for the BJP is. Because in absence of a leader, a statewide leader who has that statewide appeal, who gives you that regional kind of a flavor and amalgamates the RSS BJP credentials alongside that personality cult, in absence of that, BJP will have to ensure that their cadre is really mobilized across a singular narrative. We have seen elections after elections, BJP has not been able to work on that as well. There is not one narrative that can bind Bengal together for the BJP. Because if you look at there are areas like Bankura and Alipurduar, these are strongholds of the BJP. But then how do you cater to the urban and semi-urban clusters where Mamata Banerjee has a strong hold? It's akin to a syndicate kind of a Raj that BJP keeps talking about. What is the counter to that? In my opinion, till the BJP projects a face which is pan Bengal, which has a kind of, I mean, it's very difficult to replicate a Mamata Banerjee style of governance because she is a woman. She has done a lot for women. At least that's what the perception is. That Lakshmi Dir something, I forget the Bangla name for it, but there's a specific scheme launched for women akin to what Nitish Kumar has done in Bihar, and she, the woman leader, has that kind of resonance. The question is, how is then BJP going to navigate all these terrains and say that we are here to give an alternate version of Bihari
But isn't the challenge, Subhrashta, if I may, isn't the challenge first to convince the electorate that you are a viable alternative? Simply, and I'm only saying this because a large number of the BJP senior leaders have been pulled in from the TMC and were not exactly, clean. Let's just put it that way. So there is that challenge also, isn't there?
Absolutely. And before going to the electorate, the party needs to get its house in order and ask, can they really take on the might of TMC? That's a tough question, but the party will have to navigate that. Who is that one? Forget about projecting one leader. Who are those pantheon of leaders that they can, sit across the table with respect to a pan-Bengal appeal and have a conversation on? We have Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee coming from there. He's a huge, ideological hero of sorts. But has the BJP been able to build politics around his legacy? Has the BJP really been able to quote unquote cash in on Subhash Chandra Bose's legacy? These are all names that crop up whenever elections are around the corner, and beyond that, there's not much to do in terms of cultural nationalism, nationalist credentials that BJP brings to the table. So it is a tough conversation.
And also, hasn't Mamata been able to sort of position the BJP as the outsiders party? I mean, that's the narrative she falls back on. Has that stuck, you think?
No, I don't think that has really stuck, because in TMC also, it's not like all leaders who are all, sons and daughters of the soil who've lived there, toiled there, and are working for the TMC like that. But the good thing with any leadership like Mamata Banerjee is that they know how to maintain a hold over their cadre, and also whatever their personal preferences might be, politically they come across as a very strong, the chatter in Bengal says that Mamata Banerjee is personally not that pro-Muslim. But look at her politics. Look at the way she goes out appealing and appeasing to the Muslim candidates as if beyond Muslims, Mamata has no base. So these are interesting conversations that Bengal elections should throw up. And I hope that BJP is able to get its house in order and give a formidable challenge to the TMC, because it's been really long that TMC has reigned there. And again, a certain brand of politics has usurped the political ideological consciousness of Bihar, Bengal and Orissa. We need to move beyond that and think of something new.
Well, it's interesting, that agglomeration that you have made, but I'm not hearing too much about anti-incumbency. Now, Mamata Banerjee has been in power. She's going to go in, if she does win, a fourth term, I think. So, Amitabh Tiwari, the phrase that the Prime Minister used was very interesting. He sort of talked about how the Ganga flows from Bihar into Bengal, almost suggesting that there will be a contiguity of aspirations, disappointments, and of course, expectations that join the two populaces and somehow will advantage the BJP. First of all, is it right to compare the polity of Bihar with that of Bengal? Number one. Number two, is there any similarity that the BJP can sort of fall back on and use in Bengal? Or is the matrix both societal and ideological completely different from Bihar? How do you situate this? And I want your psephological inputs on this.
No, see, essentially Bihar and Bengal are very different in terms of polity, because in Bengal is largely a class-based politics and not a caste-based politics. So caste does not really matter in Bengal. Even if you ask some people what their caste is, they will not be able to tell. That's number one differentiator. Number two is that here polarization has come into play in the last few elections. Now, how is it different from Bihar? In Bihar, you can say that the MY population for RJD's core vote bank is 32%. Here, the Muslim population, as per 2011 census, is 27%. The latest estimates are anywhere between 28% to 33%. Five districts, Murshidabad, Malda, Uttar Dinajpur, South 24 Parganas, and Birbhum, account for half of the Muslim population. But they also account for 1/3 of the West Bengal Assembly seats. Now, here is the trick. Out of 294 seats, you need 148 to form a government. Out of these 86 seats, which are housed in these five districts, TMC won 77. So, arithmetically, TMC, for attaining a majority, wins just half of the seats from Muslim majority districts. And it just needs to add another half, which is, let's say, 75 odd seats, to win the state from the balanced 200 plus seats. The MM square works here. So, Muslim and Mahila. Even in 2021, while the BJP and TMC, or rather the BJP did well amongst the male voters, amongst the female voters, it is the TMC which enjoys a lead. Just like this, you can say, is similar to what Bihar is or was in 2020.
Right.
Now, again, here the challenge is that the BJP does not have a pan-state leader. I wouldn't say there is not an anti-incumbency, because when we did the tracker somewhere in June or July, there is anti-incumbency or discontent or fatigue against the government. It's largely on account of the rape incidents, which is RG Kar, and then followed up by some other cases, and the high level of corruption where the High Court, I think, cancelled the teacher recruitment. So these two issues have somewhat dented the credibility of Mamata Banerjee amongst the educated, which is called as, let's say, the Bhadralok, and amongst females as well. The BJP needs to exploit this anti-incumbency. It does not have pan-state leaders, as Shubhrashtra ji has said, so it needs pocket-wise or region-wise leaders. It has 4 or 5 leaders. But the BJP suffers from a fact that there is a TMC BJP and a BJP BJP in BJP. Correct? So there is this insider-outsider thing happening in BJP as well. Now there is this sub-regionalism, sub-nationalism, and this insider versus outsider, which is this Bahari Ghoto, I think, if I am pronouncing correctly, that also worked against
Bahari
the BJP.
Gato.
Bahari. So you need somebody like an Owaisi for the BJP to come here and split the Muslim vote, which the ISF tried to do but did not work, which the weakening of the Congress and the left has also not helped, because the Congress and the left, if they strengthened, then they could weaken this hold of TMC or Mamata Banerjee over the Muslims. Correct? And without either weakening the Muslim hold of TMC or getting a portion of the Muslim votes, which can only happen if you field Muslim candidates. But that goes against, or rather that has not been the norm of the BJP. So here again, a very different strategy, region by region, and something out of the box will be required to defeat the TMC, which is a very big challenge, but not impossible, I would say.
Okay, not impossible. Rashid Kidwai, obviously, the fact that this has become now a two-way fight, really, is going to make it more predictable. But what do you think about the Congress and the left? Now, they have kept distance from the TMC. Of course, they're at loggerheads with the BJP. Do you see any future for them in Bengal? Are there pockets of influence? Can they actually grow out of the malaise they find themselves in Bengal?
So Rahul, I think that is a real problem for the BJP. BJP may not be liking one bit the left or the Congress, but in Bengal, if they get some vote share of 10% or more, then that can make the BJP task as very easy. Otherwise, as you say in Persian, who knows Bengal do rust. the Bengal will always remain, Fort William and Fort George, that being Tamil Nadu, is being very away from the BJP simply because the BJP, as Mr. Bobik was saying, they do not have a leader. Whatever BJP leaders, if tomorrow Mamata decides to open door for a certain leader, they will come and become a deputy chief minister. So that is a kind of impact that Mamata Banerjee has in Bengal, and the local administration is very. Had Mamata been in opposition, she would have never ever come back to power. The kind of is the use of state apparatus that can be used in Bengal. So left and the Congress are acting as an insurance policy for Mamata Banerjee because their vote bank has come down so little that they start being able to make an impact. And one very important point, Rahul, is there about Mamata's own reach. We all talk about Muslim vote and Muslim percentage. Mamata Banerjee is one. I mean, at least that I can think of an opposition leader who's getting a support of 45-50% of the majority community vote. So as long as she's getting 50% of majority community vote and 80-90% of a minority community vote, then there is no way that you can beat her. Unlike a Tejasvi or a Rahul Gandhi or even Akhilesh Yadav, she's a very hands-on politician. She knows everything and anything that's happening in her home state, and she has, like at the Padma Pramukh, she has a very strong cadre. So her approach towards politics is very pragmatic, and she's a politician among politicians, and that makes her a very so I think I think Amitabh Tiwari would vouch. She is a differential person between Narendra Modi and BJP conquering Fort William or not, because Mamata Banerjee who's standing alone, tall, and I think at least one election she will win with a degree of ease.
I think we've got a very well-rounded view, ground view of the situation in Bihar as we head into what would be the warm-up to what will be, let me tell you, a very contentious election, and it'll be very hard fought. It'll be an interesting battle, but one that BJP might end up being more bruised by. Anyhow, viewers, who knows? Who knows? It's always fraught with implications when you try to second guess the voter, and I'm not going to do that. So viewers, I leave it for you to ponder these questions on Crux. Thank you very much for watching.